Hello Year 10s. Today's lesson is about DNA and the genome. We're going to be looking at what the human genome is and evaluating the implications of having mapped out the human genome. So what are the positives, what are the negatives of having this information? So for your first task, in your book, I'd like you to look at the 5 words on the screen and to write them down in size order, starting with the smallest, going up to the largest. Think about which word describes a molecule. Think about what that molecule is built up into, and then finally where they would be found in the cell, and finally the largest of all. Pause the video whilst you do that. What you now need to do is to write a sentence that links words listed. So think back to Year 9 and the work you did on DNA and inheritance then. And if you want to look up definitions of these terms, you can use the textbook that's been posted on your Google Classroom previously. But try to write a sentence that links the terms DNA, genes, chromosomes, human genome, and characteristics. Pause the video while you complete this. When you're ready, move on. So what I'd now like you to think about, what is DNA? So chromosomes and their genes are made out of a molecule called DNA. Now DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. So you can abbreviate that to DNA. So each molecule, is tightly coiled up, and we often refer to it as a double helix. 2 strands linked together, coiled up. So double helix. These molecules carry the code that controls what cells are made of and what those cells do. So DNA acts as a set of instructions, and it works by coding for different proteins that the body is going to manufacture. So those proteins in turn will determine your different characteristics. So for example, one particular protein might make the blue pigment in your eye colour. A different protein would make the brown pigment or eye colour. So DNA codes for the proteins that are going to control your characteristics. So DNA and base pairs. We're now going to be looking at how is that code made up. So how does DNA code for those different proteins? Now, when we refer to the double helix ladder of a DNA molecule, the rungs of that ladder are actually made from pairs of chemicals which we call bases. Now, there are 4 different types of base, and they're usually identified by their initials. So A for adenine, C for cytosine, G for guanine, and T for thymine. So these 4 letters that code for those bases act as your genetic code for all the different proteins that are assembled in the body. So what I would like you to do now, we're going to look at what we mean by this term genome. Now the genome refers to all the DNA of an organism. So it's going to include all the genes that carry all the genetic information to make all the proteins that are required by the organism. So one section of DNA, which we refer to as one gene, is coding for one protein. So what I would like you to do is to watch this short video clip. The link should be posted separately on the Google Classroom for you to access. And what I would like you to do while you're watching that video is just to look at how they mapped out the human genome. So how did they work out the order which those bases occurred to act as the genetic code for your different proteins? So it was a race between different scientists, and as well as mapping out the order, they were working out which genes appeared on which chromosome. So you should remember you've got 23 pairs of chromosomes. They've also mapped out, for example, which chromosome the eye colour gene would appear on. So I'm going to pause this and watch the video now, please. Okay, having watched that video, you should now appreciate the race that took place in sequence the human genome. So we're going to move on now to have a look at this in a little more detail. Now, this task is also posted separately for you on the Google Classroom. You need to read the information and then answer the 5 questions underneath. This has been posted as a Google quiz, so you can complete it and submit it online directly. Alternatively, if you want to do it from the presentation, you can do so. Okay, but the answers to this quiz must be submitted for your teacher to check and mark. Pause the video while you complete that task. Now that you have completed that task, if you consider the challenge question, looking at what are the ethical implications of mapping the human genome, you need to think about what are the positive reasons for having this information about our genome, and also what are the negative implications of having this information. So being able to map out which genes on which chromosomes, what the base code is, what are the positives and negatives of having this information. So what you can do now is to pause this video and watch the second link that has been posted on Google Classroom for you. This is a short video, only about 2 minutes long, and while you are watching it, I'd like you to list some of the ethical implications of mapping the human genome. So pause this video while you watch that clip. Okay, having watched that, hopefully you've got some of the following as suggestions. So some of the ideas that you might have picked up are listed on the right-hand side of this slide. You may have thought of some others of your own. But pause the video and check the points that you have considered. Alternatively, you may find it easier to list your arguments in a table. You can have 2 columns, one listing points for the Genome project and the second column where you list your points against the Genome project. What are the positives? What are the negatives of having this information? Right, to finish off, this question needs to be answered in your exercise book, and then you need to take a photograph and upload it for your teacher to mark. Now this question is worth 4 marks, so if you find it easier, complete it as 4 bullet points, but you've been asked to explain the aims of the Human Genome Project. So what were they hoping to get from being able to map out the human genome. So 4 marks, explain the aims of the Human Genome Project. A challenge for some of you to attempt: why do you think scientists also sequence the genomes of animals used for medical research? So you consider why you think that would also be important. Now, all your work from this lesson needs to be uploaded on the Google Classroom for your teacher to check and mark.